Southsiders Studios is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phone, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your smartphone. Find it in an app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Hi, this is Your Name from Your Show, and you're listening to the Southsider Studios podcasting system. For more great podcast programming, visit SouthsiderStudios.com or search Southsider Studios on iTunes.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Hello, Cinesmackers, and welcome back to the podcast that puts your favorite films in the ring to find out which one's better. This is Mike, and I'm your host, and joining me, as always, is Gabe Rowald.
Good evening.
Tom Haggis.
Quack, quack.
Sam Twomey.
Good evening.
And our special guest host is writer and director of such films as Kung Fu Graffiti, The Wedge, and coming out very soon, The Formula, Mr. Joe Clark.
Hello. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being on, Joe. All right. Well, you know what? We don't have too much to talk about before we start this, but I want to just use this time and thank my co-hosts for their awesome birthday gift that they gave me. And I'll talk more about that at the end of the show. So let me go ahead and I'll poke the monkey with the stick, and we'll get this thing going.
Ladies and gentlemen, users and androids, welcome to the main event! In the first corner, from 1979, directed by Gary Nelson, starring Maximilian Schell, Anthony Perkins, and Robert Forster, The Black Hole! In the second corner, from 1982, directed by Steven Lisberger, starring Jeff Bridges, Bruce Boxleitner, and David Warner, Tron! Tonight, it's a Disney Demolition Derby as two sci-fi cult classics duke it out!
All right. Honestly, I've been looking forward to this because these are two of my favorite sci-fi movies ever. I used to watch them all the time on HBO back when I was a kid, and Disney Channel. I think they had Disney Channel around when I was young. So let's go ahead and we'll hit the bell, and we'll start it off with writing. Gabe, your first one out of the gate.
All right. Excellent. Like you, Mike, these are two of my favorite films from my childhood. I remember enjoying both of these films quite a bit when I was a kid, and probably rewatched them over and over as a kid. So I was pretty excited to see them again and see how well they held up over time, and see if I enjoyed them the same. And the truth is, they didn't hold up as well as I had hoped, although one was better than the other. And I enjoyed them, but definitely not as much as I did when I was a kid. I saw them completely differently. I saw different things. I looked at them in a completely different way. So it was kind of an interesting experience to revisit these films after so much time. Mm-hmm. And as far as the writing is concerned, I didn't have any recollections from my childhood as to, oh, this one was really well written, because I didn't think about that. I was thinking about, oh, hey, look at the cool robots,
right.
or man, I want to have a light cycle, or I want to play these games, So I didn't think about writing at all. And honestly, it hit me almost right away. I had a pretty good idea almost right away which one of these was going to get my vote, because the writing in Black Hole was pretty terrible. There was no character development. I can't tell you anything about any of the characters except little minute things like, the woman, I don't remember the character's name. Let's see. Kate McRae, her dad was on that ship. Mm-hmm. That's all I know about her. And for some reason, she's got ESP with a robot. I don't know. And then, all I know is that Maximilian, or what's his name, Maximilian Schell's character, Dr. Hans Reinhardt, he's crazy. That's all I know. He's been out in space for 20 years and he's crazy. And the dialogue is really one of my pet peeves with writing is dialogue that tells you what you can see is happening. It's like, oh my God, look at that black hole over there. I can see the black hole. So use the dialogue to tell me something that I can't see, that I can't already know by just watching the film. And I felt like there was a lot of that through this movie. It's just telling me, oh, we can't trust him. Oh, really? Yeah, he's truly, you can tell he's pretty crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't trust him. Why would you? So don't tell me that. Don't insult me by telling me these things. So I really felt like the writing in Black Hole was just really pretty miserable, barely passable. Tron, I don't know that Tron was a lot better, but I thought Tron was a lot more creatively written, and we did get a little bit more about the characters, and I thought they really there was real creative use of computer terminology in the writing of Tron. It may have been a little bit kind of cliche. It may have been a little bit kind of campy, but I really thought it was fairly creative how they used a lot of the computer terms in Tron, and so I thought the writing was far superior to Black Hole. So I think it's pretty easy for me to just say my vote goes to Tron, no question.
All right, thank you, Gabe. Tom?
I really wish we hadn't done this show because I hadn't seen the Black Hole in about 25 years, and it was so happy minding its own business in the back of my brain as this wonderful childhood memory. And then I went back and watched again, and I've grown and matured a little bit. And the Black Hole, I mean, it could be so much better. It's really slow, and there are these huge plot holes that are so easily fixable that could have been done at the script phase when they were working on it. The science is horrible. For a science fiction. Always. I don't know if I want to call it a science fiction film because it lacks so much science. And I had no idea the vacuum of space was so finicky. Like sometimes it'll kill you. Other times, hey, it's like being outside in Central Park, It was just
except weightless.
Yeah, exactly. With strings. Yeah. I'll get to the strings. I mean, just a profound misunderstanding of science. I mean, it made the core actually seem pretty plausible, to be honest with you.
That hurts my heart, but I have to laugh at it.
And then it leaves you at the end of them in the pod drifting towards a planet, and I mean, they're gonna have to start eating each other. I mean, that's they're in a pod designed to probe black holes. Perhaps there's some weird euphemism analogy underneath the whole thing, but they're going to have to wind up eating each other, and they were not a plump group, so it wasn't going to last too long. And when you compare just the lack of astrophysics that they did in Black Hole with, like Gabe said, some really creative uses of computer language and what we knew about computers at the time that they did in Tron, I'm going to just have to give it to Tron. So,
all right,
yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, Sam, over to you.
Writing. I have to preface this, I guess, by saying that I never really got Tron. Like, it took me about 33 years of my life to see the movie, and I was never blown away by it. So I wasn't super happy about watching these films this time as much. I had never heard of the black hole or seen it, so in a way that was an interesting journey. I'm sure that the other panelists will be like talking about Tron and how they tried to have a clever take on the programming game culture and whatnot. Like, I don't know, like as hokey as it is.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue in Black Hole, I mean, it serves its purpose in kind of this family funny way. Like, just the fact that they have like robot death scenes and beautifully shot, but we'll talk about that later. You got you've even got the like man and robot love embrace at the end
Mm-hmm.
with the doctor and Max.
Yeah, that was very weird.
Very strange. In a way, it takes you on a journey in a different way. Like, and I guess it's a matter of if you want to take the Tron type journey. Like, I never really embraced that story about, he's inside the computer and he's got to recover these files, and I never cared for the story.
This is an outrage.
Oh God, you got Tom going.
It's hokey. It's hokey.
It is not.
I'm gonna go. All right. Well, now you're definitely making up my mind. Black hole. Black hole.
Right. That was easy. Thanks, Sam. Mr. Joe Clark.
Sam, you know that the special effects haven't always been as good as they are right now. They weren't as good back then. So, your expectations might be really high, but this was actually really high tech in 1982. It was really awesome. So by not seeing it until you're 33, I'm sure you look at it and you're like, this looks really awful. No, it's awesome. It's really awesome.
No, I get what it was for the time, and we'll talk about that in the other rounds. But
and it aged pretty well. I got to say.
Yeah, I think and maybe I'll sing its praises in other rounds. Who knows?
All right,
we shall see, sir. We shall see.
Joe, you're up.
Yeah, I'm in more of Sam's boat in the sense that I didn't really grow up with any of these. Since I was more of a 90s child, I had more of your Matrixes and your Fifth Elements and
Power Rangers.
What's the other bad Canneries one? Johnny Mnemonic. So this was also my first round with both of these. And so in that sense, I guess they're kind of nostalgia handicapped, if you will, from my sense. So with that, when it pertains to writing, and I don't think either one of them is too strong, because I don't think that's the main draw for both the movies, obviously. But I would say as far as story goes, I like the Black Hole story. I think it's more ambitious. They start getting into, they are going into different worlds and a little bit more complicated than going into the computer program, but
right.
The actual dialogue was like more of a 50s sci-fi. It was not too great on that front. And I would say, although not much better, I got to give to Tron just for you didn't have your moments where it's just laughable, I guess you could say. Yeah, I got to go with Tron on this one as well.
All right. Thank you, Joe. While you guys have been going on, I've been trying to find trivia about the writing of either two films, and there is nothing about the writing of the other two films. So I will start off with this. Due to the poor return at the box office for Tron, following this film and its predecessor, The Black Hole, Disney Studios did not make another live-action film for 10 years. Wow. Like, they just said, we're done. Totally threw it out the window. So
they had no idea what they had.
Right. I
Absolutely
agree.
Not, so.
The Black Hole contains over 550 visual effects shots, including over 150 matte paintings.
Which one? Black Hole?
Yeah.
Okay, you did little air quotes around visual effects when you said that, right?
No, I didn't.
It contains visual effects shots.
All right.
I think it was just the same visual. It was like the same visual effect shot over and over again. That weird spirally hurricane in the background.
Wow.
It's called a black hole.
Did anyone else think that robot reminded them of Cartman? Like, I
guess I didn't put that together, but I can see that.
All right.
Which came first, though? Cartman reminds me of that robot.
It's true. He's kind of built the same.
Yeah. Actually, the movie. Here we go. Here's something for writing. The movie was renamed in the Soviet Union because black hole is an obscene term in Russian.
Oh, it's an obscene term here too.
It is. It is. In Soviet Russia. All right. Let's go ahead. What were you going to say, Tom?
Nothing. I had a joke and I got 2 syllables into it and I went, it sucks. Abandoned ship. Moving on.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next round, which is acting. And Tom, you go.
I have to ask, what exactly does it take to out-creep Anthony Perkins, to appear on screen with him and like completely, out-creep him? And Maximilian Schell does it, and he does a really, really great job. And he's one of the few redeeming values in all of the Black Hole. I thought that Roddy McDowall and Slim Pickens were really, really great as the robots. I thought that was really creative use, and I really liked both of them. I was a little disappointed to see Ernest Borgnine reduced to such like a small supporting role. I mean, I know that's all he does really is supporting roles, but in this case, I kept watching him, waiting for him to be real key behind the whole thing. And when he ran off and at the end and stole the ship and tried to get away.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, he was in on it this whole time. Ernest Borgnine, and they're like, no, he's just a chicken shit. I'm like, oh, come on, it's Ernest Borgnine. You gotta, if you have Borgnine, you have to use it, or it goes bad. In Tron, David Warner, it was really, really great as Dillinger and Sark. I thought was really great, but he actually was kind of playing second fiddle to the MCP, which, in my opinion, is one of my favorite movie villains. I think the MCP, because he, the whole drive and the mystique behind, what's pushing him to gain more and more power, and is he becoming smarter, at an exponential rate to, surpass us? It's a scary thing. It's something, machines, becoming smarter than us, something that they've echoed through movies. And I love the MCP character. Jeff Bridges, of course, he's also so great. He's done everything he does. One thing I really like about Jeff Bridges is when you go back through and you look at his filmography, and he has such a talent for taking these characters that could just be, lost, to history. But he has such a great job of taking his characters and making them so accessible and humanizing them in such a great way. I mean, you just fall in love with Flynn when you first see him, and you just instantly start rooting for him because he's just kind of this lovable character. Yes, he's cocky and he's very arrogant and bends all the rules and stuff, but he does it in a way that's very, very affable. So, wow, you know what? I almost talked myself into voting for acting in the Black Hole, but I cannot deny Jeff Bridges his awesomeness.
All right.
Yeah, I got to give it to Tron.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Mr. Dwami.
Oh, Tron.
Don't sigh after I go. You can't do that.
I've noticed he starts each of his segments with a big sigh.
Yeah.
I got to talk about these movies.
I don't know, something about rebelled against Tron forever, but you really can't deny the acting there. David Warner is very good. Kind of moves this ridiculous action forward. Jeff Bridges is very good. Young Jeff Bridges, like it's great to see. And I mean, I think the Black Hole was very strange. Like, it was cool to have Norman Bates in space. Like, that's the first thing I saw. He came on, I'm like, Norman Bates in space! And he was the exact same character. It was great. Like, Anthony Perkins. And Borgnine, they didn't use him very well. He looked kind of clumsy in that.
He was.
you know, I don't know. The robots were weird and like, especially like the hee-haw type damage robot. You can't.
The hee-haw.
He's gonna hee-haw. Kind of like Pumpkin.
Oh, that's too
Not
funny.
the stereotype. We don't stereotype here on Cinesmack, do we?
No, not at all. Ever.
No.
Just robots.
Yeah. Well, robots have feelings too. There's probably a robot out there crying right now. But yeah, Black Hole acting was in the same league as Tron. Lots of different elements, lots of difficult elements for those actors to be put in front of and give realistic performances that were, of course, enhanced by all of the effects, which we'll talk about in our next couple categories. But I gotta go for Tron.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Joe.
I guess I'll open up a little bit about the robots in Black Hole.
The
And maybe it's
hee-haw
because I've been
robot.
desensitized about through other, like I said, shows I've grown up with. But like, it was just like the most stock robot character. They were just like D- Star Wars robots, and the two of them when they were acting side by side, it was literally like Clark Griswold and Cousin Eddie at times. It was
great
really
analogy.
But as far as human actors, I'm kind of gonna split it again in the sense that as far as cast and ensemble, based on what they've accomplished, I gotta say the Black Hole cast I like overall better. But in terms of actual acting in each of these movies, I got to give to Tron just based off Jeff Bridges. I agree with everything Tom said. He's awesome in this movie. He carries it. He's likable. And the other guy, David Warner, was he the bad guy? He's always kind of, I always know him as the guy that's trying to kill Jack Rose in the Titanic, but he's a pretty slimy villain in this too. So, yeah, I got to give it to Tron again, just based solely off Jeff Bridges. He's great in this.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Gabe.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think we do kind of have a little bit of a generational divide here. I've noticed that, some of us who grew up actually seeing these movies and remembering these movies as children actually are more fond of them than people who have approached them later. And I imagine that's kind of the same thing for Star Wars. And I've had kind of the same effect with that in that, I loved Star Wars when I was a kid. I just loved it. And now when I watch the original Star Wars movies, I'm like, well, I like them, but they're not great,
Right.
And I look at the
Whoa,
acting.
whoa.
No, really.
What?
No, really.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I know, they're not.
Oh my
The
God.
the acting's not that great. The special effects were, but it's all about context, really. And at that time, it was really good. It was amazing. And actually, movies like Black Hole and maybe even Tron, this much later, are trying to compete with that, and and failing, in my opinion, in many ways. But anyway, I'll get back on track as far as the acting. Again, like the writing, I think a lot of times that the writing and acting go hand in hand. You can only do so much with what's given to you. I think great actors can probably make anything really good. And there were some good actors in Black Hole, but their material was in my opinion pretty weak. So I don't think they had much to go on. They didn't, I didn't really see any outstanding acting at all throughout Black Hole. It was suitable. It got us by. It was like it's good enough for us to kind of get through this movie, but it wasn't outstanding. And Tron, I thought was a lot better. I'm not sure that Tron was outstanding either. Jeff Bridges was good. I thought it was a little bit strange at first. His character at first seemed a little bit weird to me. And I thought he was a little bit over the top, especially when he was playing the Clue program when he was in the tank at the beginning and he gets caught. I thought he was a little bit kind of strange over the top, and maybe he was just like, okay, I'm I'm supposed to be a computer program right now, and then I thought he was a little bit over the top to start with, as his Flynn character. But then I realized actually what he was doing, and I enjoyed it a lot more after that. He's like a grown-up kid. I mean, he's an adult who basically programs and plays video games all day. Right. I mean, he really hasn't grown up, and he really portrayed that pretty well, I thought. Especially in just little things that he did, like when they're in the NCOM company, and he runs and hides from the girl, and like plays a little trick on her. That's kind of what a little kid might do.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's very telling of his character and where he is. And I thought his acting, got better as the movie went on. What's his name? David Warner as the bad guy in Tron. I thought he was great. I think he makes a good bad guy. He's got a good presence to him. He's got a good voice for it, and I enjoyed him in that. Although I do have to say that I remember him also from my childhood in a movie called Time Bandits.
Yes.
Which, as a kid, I really loved that movie. Now that might be one I have to revisit again and see if I still enjoyed it as much. But he played the villain in that, and I thought he was really my memory of that is that he was really frightening in that. He was a very a very good villain, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I think that overall, I think the cast and the acting are better in Tron. So I have to give Tron my vote.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. I can't believe you guys didn't even talk about Scarecrow.
Oh yeah.
Scarecrow. Bruce Boxleitner. He was Scarecrow and Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Don't you guys remember?
I thought he was okay, but
I love Bruce.
He wasn't outstanding.
No, I agree. I agree.
He was serviceable as Tron.
Oh, why are you hating on Star Wars, Gabe? What do you gotta hate on Star
Wars? I love Star Wars. No, I still love Star Wars. But it's the kind of thing where it's like when you watch that and you're young and impressionable, it's like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then later on you revisit, you're like, I'm not sure what I was thinking. It's enjoyable, but it's not as awesome as I used to think it was.
All right, so
I love Star Wars. I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love all that stuff from my childhood.
I can't. I'm sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead.
But I can't believe that everybody went and saw Star Wars and was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next one. And they're like months away from seeing Empire Strikes Back, and the black hole comes out, and it somehow lodges itself in a positive place in children's minds. I would have walked out of the black hole and went, well, thank God Empire Strikes Back's coming out in a couple of months to erase that memory.
It's got cheap laser fights. Like, they attempt to do the costuming, and it's kind of, I don't know, but like the laser, some of it reminds me of almost like Flash Gordon.
Yeah, it like a 1950s serial. I mean, it looks 20 years older than it actually is.
Yeah. And if you felt like that's what they were trying to do, like they were paying homage to something like that, then maybe you would be like, oh, that was pretty cool. That I see what they were doing there. But you realize that they weren't, that they were trying to compete with something like Star Wars.
They're trying to cash in on Star Wars and space.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just real quick, favorite Star Wars movies. All right. Just name your number one, Gabe.
Number one. Oh my God. I don't know. That's hard. I think maybe Return of the Jedi. Maybe.
All right, Sam.
Episode 4, A New Hope.
All right, Tom.
Battle for Endor. I'm kidding. We're still recording, right?
Yes.
I was kidding. Yeah. No, I gotta give it New Hope. The trench run is still, I think, probably one of my favorite sequences in all movie history. I love it.
Joe.
It's still.
The Christmas special.
Oh God!
Oh, you youngins!
Did it have Ewoks in it? I don't remember.
No, it was all Wookiees.
All Wookiees.
Yeah, it was it Wookiee Life Day or something like that? So, Joe, really?
Return of the Jedi. I'd say.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and you can't beat that last matchup.
Yeah. That is pretty awesome.
As much as it bothers me, the Empire wasn't even mentioned. I have to say Return. Like, that was the very first one I ever saw in the theater. So to me, that holds a special place.
Yeah, that's the first one I saw in the theater too.
Yeah.
Like I saw the others like on re-release in the theater when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, yeah, same here. Yeah, when they brought him back out. But Return of the Jedi for me is just I love the space battles. You know, not so much the Ewoks, but I can forgive that. But Empire's so good. I can't even believe it's anyway. Getting off topic. Neither Roddy McDowall nor Slim Pickens are credited for their voice work in The Black Hole on either the opening or the closing sequences, if you can believe that. And there's something else in here I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember. Oh, well, we'll move on to Tron. This one I found quite funny. Jeff Bridges produced too much of a bulge in the crotch area in his computer outfit, so he was forced to wear a dance belt to conceal it. So that's how he got the role as the Big Lebowski.
Great.
I hate it when that happens.
All right.
My bulge is a huge problem for me.
That's why you wear that dance belt all over. I always thought it was strange.
Anyway, I don't even know what that is.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't do much good when I wear it on my head.
All right, let's move on. We're going to directing. And I don't even know who starts. Sam, you start us off. I'm just picturing Tom wearing a dance belt over his head.
Sure. All right, directing Black Hole, Gary Nelson. Tron, you've got Steve Lisberger. Steven Lisberger. All right, Lisberger.
Sounds like a cheese.
Yeah. All right, Lisberger, listen up. No, I think you did a great job. Tron has so many elements to it. But, I'm not going to go with the obvious Tron and all, its groundbreaking visuals and all that. Because, yes, that was part of the director, but a lot more craftsmen in the Mouse House put that together. And I would have to say, well, I mean, these are both Disney pictures, so something about The Black Hole. Obviously, it's earlier, 79, different kind of focus. But I thought on its, with some of its, limited sets and whatnot, like, I like some of the pacing. I like some of the setups. Like, we joked earlier, or I did anyway, about the robot love scene, or not love scene, robot death scene. There was some, like, platonic love, I guess, involved. Anyway, they played that almost straight on, and they shot it really well, and it was fun to, see how those, with the smoke in the background and the lighting and everything, like, there was an emotional moment there between those robots, and I really appreciated that. I thought it was a bigger scope. Well, no, you can't really say that against Tron, because Tron really pushed the edge in a lot of ways, so, and maybe we talk about that in the overall, but it's hard for me to vote on this one. But I think I'm going to go for the underdog, and I'm going to vote for Mr. Gary Nelson of The Black Hole.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Joe, you're up.
I mean, as we established, I don't think writing was really the main draw for this, so it was more of an undertaking of the whole project. And in that sense, I think The Black Hole was pretty much a cash-in, it seemed, on Star Wars, whereas Tron seemed a little bit more of a risk. Mm-hmm. And also just the acting in, you could tell the acting in Black Hole wasn't very much supported by the directing. I mean, they were pretty stiff and robotic themselves, all the human actors. But as far as in Tron, I think it was a bigger accomplishment. And who's the director? Is it Steven Lisberger?
Yes.
Which I'm on his IMDb page now, and his last film actually was a movie called Slipstream, which I'm going to bring it full circle. Actually stars Mark Hamill and Bill Paxton. And,
wow. Really?
I remember seeing this a few years ago. I bought it from a Dollar Tree, and
nice.
it sends back because It was really bad. But as far as an 82, I feel like it was I think Tron was a pretty impressive accomplishment for what it was, and I think you have to give in a landslide to Steven Wisberger. So I'm going to go with Tron.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Gabe?
Yeah. I guess when I was watching these, I wasn't necessarily thinking about the directing and the directorial choices, but as we've discussed it, I think there's some pretty, it starts with the writing, but I think it can end with the director. I think somebody can put their foot down and say, wait a minute, let's do this right. And we were talking about a lot of the Black Hole is basically a movie about science.
Right.
If you think about it. It's about space travel. It's about encountering a black hole. It's about spaceships. It's about, science. And there are some really big slip-ups in the science, as Tom was discussing earlier. There's disregard to the whole vacuum of space. So sometimes it sucks people out, and other times it just kind of, gently lifts them up, and never mind that there's no oxygen, they're fine, and I just feel like those kinds of things, a good director would have said, hey, wait a minute, can we portray this a little differently? Can we approach this a little bit differently and make it a little bit more accurate? So I feel like there were some failings there. That being said, Black Hole did have some nice cinematography, like Sam mentioned. There was some beautiful cinematography, and there was a lot of work that had been done to get this thing pulled off. Just think of the giant sets that they had and all the matte paintings that you talked about before. There's quite a bit of work there. So I do give them credit for pulling off quite a feat. A fairly, a movie on a fairly grand scale.
Right.
And I imagine for that time period, fairly epic. But I still feel like that, the character development, the acting, the scientific slip-ups, all those kinds of things really are kind of inexcusable. If they were minor things, okay, no problem, but they kind of permeated the whole film. Whereas I felt Tron was a lot different. I felt like, maybe it wasn't as grand a scale, and maybe the science wasn't quite so foreign, because it was basically computers. And it was pretty new. Computers were pretty new at the time. But I think he also tackled some fairly new things, especially all of the computer, special effects. It was pretty extensive, and I was pretty surprised. I'm like, I wonder how long it took him to do that. That looked like a lot of work, and I don't know how much of that was actually done with computers at the time, and how much of it was done with what we would consider more, classical visual effects. You could tell at times when they just flat out they brought in some Disney animator and drew that, and it's like, okay, well, we're not going to screw around with trying to, do that with computer. We'll do that in a way we know how and can do faster and cheaper. But I thought they did a really excellent job with that. The acting was much better, and therefore I think that translates to better directing as well. And so I think again, so far I think I've voted unanimously for Tron.
You have.
It's not going to change. Yeah, it's not going to change here in the directing. My vote goes to Tron.
All right, thanks, Gabe. Tom.
All right, so I'm going to tell you that one of these films was nominated for an Academy Award for cinematography and special effects. Guess which one?
Tron.
No.
Right.
Tron, I'm not kidding, Tron was not nominated for special effects. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And Black Hole was. And cinematography. I love, something that I'll always hold dear to Black Hole is I love that I can find some of the best and worst special effects all in one place.
Here we go.
It's really like the Walmart of special effects. Everything I need. It's everything I need right in one movie. If you want some really bad dialogue, here it is. It's right here, right in front of you.
Oh my God, was funny.
I will give some bonus points. I thought I felt like it got to the end And they got to the end of the movie and like, oh my gosh, this movie's really kind of a mess, and I really don't know what we're going to do. So let's throw in some religious iconography, and maybe we'll score some points with some churchy people. Because like all of a sudden there's angels and this very blatant hell that they have to go through to come out the other side. On the other hand, there's Tron, and the special effects in Tron. I thought it was such a really this is a great example of somebody, and this is something that I don't think that we really have to deal with, I think, in 2013, is that Tron is a really great example of saying, look, this is the technology that we have. This is what we can do right now. And kudos to people, like George Lucas and James Cameron, who say, push the envelope further and further and further. And Tron was able to construct a script and keep it within the bounds and keep it fairly realistic, because I think the special effects, while it's a very, early 1980s computer environment, it stays true to that, and it doesn't, there are no strings. So I think the special effects in Tron are a lot better. So kudos to the Tron team for doing that, and also, and I just had his name up and I just lost it. Jeff Gorson, the editor, I thought the work that he did with Steve Lisberger on the light cycle scene is really, really great. The editing and directing from the light cycle scene, I think, is the takeaway for Tron. Of all of the stuff in the movie, I think that in particular is kind of the heart of the whole movie, and it's a game. And I'll talk to more about that in the overall. But going back and just watching the way that the shots are composed and how those shots are put together in a specific order to build, the suspense and the tension of the scene is so great. And I love the light cycle scene, and I think it's a really, really, it's like a case study. If you want to show anybody, like, this is how you edit a real tense scene, and it, cutting from the different points of view and to the wide shots, and to keep people in focus about this is what's going on, and then to the close shots to drive the emotion home. It is a really, really great scene. So I'm going to have to, of course, I'm going to give it to Tron, because, be an idiot if I voted for Black Hole at this point. So, yeah. So,
all right. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Tron is also a debugging command in the basic programming language. I bet Gabe knew this. Meaning trace on. However, Steve Lisberger, the cheese, has stated in interviews that he took the name from the word electronic and did not know about the basic command until later.
Gary, I did not know that, by the way.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
I figured you would.
No.
Gary Nelson was not satisfied with the way the model shop made Bob, or in Sam's case, Hee Haw Robot, stating that the robot did not look battered enough. He went to the clay model they were using for reference and proceeded to hit it several times with a baseball bat. They built a new robot based on this model. So there you go. Get stuff done, you got to beat it with a baseball bat. I think
that's funny, because when I watch Black Hole, I don't get the impression that the director was really that involved in those decisions. So good to see that he actually was actually in the workshop.
Nice.
Submitting his ideas.
Now, were those robots on wires, or how did they move those robots?
They were real. Disney actually made them.
Anti-gravity.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
No, they were on cables, and I haven't been able to find out anything about how they did the actual special effects. But
those are, if they look pretty smooth. I mean, for these clunky robots, their movement was pretty smooth.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have Imagineers behind them, right? Isn't that what they used to call them, Imagineers?
I think they still do.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, and I was reading that they Disney wanted to borrow motion cameras from Lucasfilm, but they're too expensive.
Yep.
So they got their Imagineers to develop new techniques of shooting mats, and not really, like Tom said, not really pushing it, but doing it the best they could for that time period.
Yep. And at the time of its release, the movie featured the longest computer graphics sequence that had ever appeared in a film. The green grid sequence that appears under the opening titles. So that's like the longest, well, at that point, was the longest computer-generated graphics. So anyway, let's move on. we'll go on to our final round, which is overall. And Joe, you kick things off.
Yeah, so I guess overall, we've kind of all hit on that. A lot of these movies are very nostalgia heavy, and I agree. I think Gabe said that, a lot of these movies also they were big accomplishments, and they did do a lot of cool things, and it was a big scale, which is very impressive. And with a lot of them, I think you do have to kind of look at them with that context filter. But at the same time, I think once you strip all that, the nostalgia and the special effects, you don't have a lot on either one. But that's not to say, I mean, my favorite movie is Rocky IV, and I don't think anyone's going to argue that should have won an Oscar. A lot of it kind of just what you grow up with, and but at the same time, you got to look at Black Holes in '79. And there was also a different sci-fi movie in '79 that came out called Alien, which is one of the best movies, I think, and I think it holds up. And so, I think it kind of transcends that timeliness in terms of you can have good special effects and a story and characters and all that in the whole package. Mm-hmm. That being said, though, I do think Tron was more of an accomplishment, like I said before in the previous rounds, and also it has left a bigger legacy. Someone give me a rim shot for that.
Oh, nice.
In terms of it's had spin-offs, and that movie came out a couple years ago. So it's had a lasting effect, whereas The Black Hole, I had not heard of it until Mike Keeler texted me saying. So I think this is a pretty easy victory in Tron.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Hmm?
Gabe?
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was good. I felt good about that.
Some solid points there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't argue with any of them.
Yeah. No, I can't either. For the first time. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah. One thing we haven't talked about in these two movies is the music.
Oh.
Actually, the music in both of these movies, I think, is excellent. Actually, when I started watching Black Hole again, it kind of came back to me like, oh, I remember this music.
Yeah. And
I remember being a kid and humming this music, and just I really liked it. But one thing that threw me off was when I watched it on Amazon streaming, and I started it.
Uh-huh.
And it says it's playing, and I'm getting sound. I'm hearing the music.
That same thing happened to me.
and it's all black, and nothing else is happening. I'm like, well, this is the music. Should I be seeing something? And I didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm like, there's something wrong with my streaming. I'm not getting the picture. Why am I not getting the picture? And then I fast forwarded a little bit, and then all of a sudden the movie started, and the music started again. And I'm like, what was that about? Well, naturally, a little bit later, I did some research, mm-hmm. and to say, was that supposed to be in there? What was that about? Yeah. Well, it's and it sounds like you probably did the same thing I did. It's an overture, yep. And I didn't know what that meant. But it's basically I didn't I knew it was a musical term, but I didn't know what in relation to film what that meant. And basically, they play the music over either black, like they did in Black Hole, mm-hmm. or over still images. And it's basically a musical piece before the movie starts. And then once that's done, the movie starts as normal, and things go on. But I wasn't aware of that, and I did not remember that from when I was a kid. But I do have to say that it's got to be one of the strongest things in Black Hole is the music. The music, I think, is excellent. I think it's got a great theme to it. It's memorable. And I think it's by far the best part of Black Hole. Tron, I think the music was also excellent in that, and I thought mm-hmm. it was very appropriate. There were times when it was a little bit kind of like, okay, this is like cheesy 80s electronica kind of music, but I thought it was very appropriate for the movie. It fit the whole concept. Everything about this movie is about electronics. It's about
it's about computers, and the music sounded like it was created by computers, and I felt like it was very appropriate. So that's one thing that I don't think we had touched on at all in this episode, and so I wanted to mention how excellent the music was in both of these films.
I'm really glad you said that, because I am a huge fan of both those soundtracks, because I'm a soundtrack nerd, and I just checked my iTunes, and the Black Hole, like that overture and opening music, has been listened to 433 times.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Well, that's good, and it really is good, memorable movie music. I think some of the other movies we've been talking about tonight, especially Star Wars, there's some more very memorable, very excellent film music, and I think John Williams is unsurpassed in creating that kind of music.
Right.
But I think he was probably actually a contemporary of this guy, maybe a little bit after the composer for Black Hole. I'm not sure, but I think music plays a huge role in creating the moods of these films, and I think both of these it creates those moods just perfectly. But I think it would be remiss of me to go through this whole episode and vote for Tron every time and then change my vote at the end for overall. It's been done before, but it's not going to happen this time. I think when it all comes together, when all of these elements come together, that Tron is the superior film. It's the more memorable film. And we often talk about rewatchability. It's a film I will probably revisit sometime in the future. Now, I haven't seen the new one, the Tron Legacy, yet.
It's good. I enjoy it.
And so I'm looking forward to seeing that in the near future.
I'll let you borrow my copy. It's awesome.
All right, that'd be great.
All right. Yeah. Tom.
Yeah, so the opening scene where in Black Hole, where they're floating around their little space pod, and they're all in, like, got the acrobatic strings. Like, the movie lost me right there. So, I mean, it was really bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. I don't know if, like, really skinny string was hard to come by in 1979, but I mean, it was like real thick airline cable.
Well, and see, I don't know if we notice that now more thanks to, what we have, or it just, you couldn't notice it back then on a 35 millimeter print.
Possibly, and that's, I think that may speak to as why we haven't seen the Black Hole on Blu-ray yet, because it's, oh my God, I would keep that thing as far away from Blu-ray as possible. I watched it on DVD in my Blu-ray player, so it was up converted a little bit, and it was not nice to it. So I put it in, and the little digital readout on the front of the Blu-ray player said, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes, I really want to watch this." It's funny, and I told a lot of people, my friends, and then my older brother, who was born in 1971, is a real big Black Hole fan, and they were all real excited. They were like, "Oh, you're going to do the Black Hole?" And a lot of people I say that we were doing the Black Hole, they say, "Oh, I haven't seen that in years." And I now, if anyone's listening, you need to go see it again, because that part of your childhood needs to be corrected. I want to talk a little bit about the games, and with the caveat that Tron is about gaming, so it did have a little bit of a leg up on it. But the Black Hole, saw that gaming was kind of coming into this. It's this new entertainment form. So let's put in this cool shooting game between Vincent and Star,
right?
And it was really weird. I mean, it was just target practice.
Yeah.
It could have been really cool, and instead it was just like, so they just shoot the balls, and I guess I didn't really get it. But then when you look at what Tron did with gaming, and again, it's a movie about gaming, the light cycles and the highlight sequences are so great. And I said that in the last round, but the Black Hole thing just really didn't seem to get gaming at all in the way that Tron did. And I'm not a huge video gamer myself, but I think when you're doing a science fiction films, you need to have at least a little bit of appreciation about what is possible and what's to come. And Tron seemed to have a much better handle on that. And would you argue even that Tron is a science fiction film? Because I suppose it would fall into that category. Mm-hmm. But Black Hole's much more of a science fiction film in terms of its themes and that kind of thing. So I'm trying to zip through all my notes here. The black hole was a really good idea at its heart. It was a really, really good idea, but the technology just couldn't deliver the product to back the story up. Mm-hmm. I did love the score. I think on all points, if I had to give Black Hole any point, if we had a score category, I think Black Hole's score was better than Tron's. Mm-hmm. Written by the great John Barry. I mean, the guy, he's written scores for 11 James Bond films,
yes.
But not the James Bond theme. Apparently, I don't want to get sued. But apparently he arranged the theme, but he did not write it. So I want to make that very clear. My lawyer wanted me to make sure I made that very clear. Just to end on, I want to look at what Disney has these two franchises, if you want to call Black Hole a franchise, and Tron. And they had both of them. And what they chose to do with Tron was to take this story from 1982 and continue and build on it. And the movie Tron is the basis for one, and what we hear is now 2, 3 more movies that they're going to build based on a continuation of the Tron story.
Right.
So that tells you how they feel about that first Tron movie. The Black Hole, they're taking the heart of the story, which is a story about a spaceship that, goes out to explore black holes, and they're not building on that story. In fact, they're going to tear it completely down to tear it down to the studs. And I'm not talking about Ernest Borgnine. Tear it down to the studs, and they're going to redo the entire black hole story. And I think that tells you a lot about how they feel about these stories. That Tron, at its heart, is a really good foundation for a franchise. Black Hole, a good idea that wasn't executed so well. Maybe we can go back, pull some of the elements out of there, and start over from scratch. So I got to give it to Tron. So, yeah, and I talked about the Blu-ray. So, yeah, right. Unanimous for me. Tron.
Nice. Yeah, I actually am looking forward to see what they do with the new Black Hole. I was really surprised and happy with Tron Legacy. It's a fun film, and I really enjoyed seeing it. But enough of me. Let's move on to Sam. You're closing us out.
Overall, I do not like Tron. I never got it. I came really, really late to the party. By the time I got there, all the cool kids had already left, and it's just no good for me. And I mean, there's great elements, and no doubt, filmmaking wise, it is a much bigger accomplishment, and will be remembered by infinitely larger number of people. But with my vote, all I'm going to say is fuck Tron.
Thank you, Sam.
He got it in.
He did. He got it in. All right. Well, let's see. I had a few things I wanted to hit on. Also, if you haven't seen Tron Legacy, look for a little homage to Tron and the Black Hole in the film. Mostly towards the beginning of the film. That's all I'll say. It's kind of neat. I found it quite enjoyable when I saw it, but I nerd out at really weird things. The composer Wendy Carlos's score for Tron was unavailable on CD for many years due to the severe degradation of the original analog master tapes. By the time of the film's 20th anniversary, technicians had been developing techniques which allowed the tapes to be temporarily restored to a playable condition for digital remastering. And for the Black Hole, it was popular around this time to release a 12-inch, 33 1/3 long playing record. See, Joe, they had these things called records, and they were vinyl and they were round, kind of like. Do you remember laser discs? Yeah, you do. But you used a needle and it had scratches in it, and it would play music or play sounds out of it. You got it?
No, Mike, I collect records. And I have no idea. I have no idea what you just said.
Neither do I.
and if it has scratches on it, it's ruined.
All right, it has grooves. Grooves. All right, sorry, grooves that go around. It was. I just lost my. Containing the film's dialogue, sound effects, and score, with narration taking the listener from scene to scene. The record release of The Black Hole featured dialogue not present in the theatrical release of the film.
You know what? I think I had that.
I did too. After I read it.
Yeah, do you remember that they had them for like Raiders of the Lost Ark all that. I used to listen to those all the time.
Yep, I had this. I had Star Wars, and I think I had Raiders. I can't remember if I had Raiders. I think I had Raiders, but
Yeah, I have Raiders and Star Wars and Empire.
nice.
I had
my
Gremlins,
gosh,
which was one of my
Gremlins,
favorites. Like, I had
yeah.
all those.
Gremlins good.
That was good.
Gremlins on an LP.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Please turn the record over.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, see, Joe, just like Laserdisc, they had double sides, but you had to flip it manually in order to hear the rest of it.
In ear and out the other.
All right.
I don't get that concept. I'm just kidding.
All right. Why don't you guys go ahead and give your recommendations for this month, and we'll start it off top again. We'll go with Gabe. I'm going to try and tally up these votes.
Okay. I kind of stuck with the sci-fi genre. I just recently saw a movie called Looper with Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, and I liked it. It was kind of an interesting take on time travel. The basic concept is that time travel has been invented, but it's been outlawed. So the mob starts using it in illegal ways, and they basically send people back in time to a looper who is someone who is basically a hitman in the past. Mm-hmm. And they'll send somebody back to the past, and this hitman knows right where they're going to be at what time, and takes them out. And then, of course, from the previews, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is a looper, and his future self comes back at one point, and it gets interesting after that. And I thought it was kind of an interesting look at time travel and the paradoxes of time travel, and an interesting story. And our former guest, Tosh Dillinger, had seen it, and he said this is the first movie in a long time where he couldn't predict the end. He didn't know how it was going to end.
Huh.
And if he says that, he predicts everything. He ruins everything. So don't sit next to him in a movie because he'll tell you what's going to happen. And he couldn't predict it. So that says a little something. So I would recommend, if you're into sci-fi and time travel type movies, check out Looper.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. Tom.
I'm going to stick with Jeff Bridges for my pick, and I'm going to my pick or recommendation is the Terry Gilliam film from 1991, The Fisher King. Oh. Jeff, like I said, Jeff Bridges is a very, very talented actor, and The Fisher King, I think, was one of the first ones that we saw exactly how brilliant and funny and human he can be in his characters. It also stars Mercedes Ruehl and Robin Williams. It's really good. It's a really great story about a shock DJ and his story for redemption. I'm not selling it. It sounds like the most boring movie in the world. But it's not. It's really fantastic. It's Terry Gilliam, so there's a lot of really great imagery and psychoses in all of these characters as they kind of work through all of their problems. It's fantastic. And Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges are so very, very great in it. So I'd have to say it's probably one of my 2 or 3 favorite Terry Gilliam movies, which is saying a lot because he's done some really, really great stuff. So check out The Fisher King if you are wise.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Sam.
Those are good picks so far, both of them. I'm going to go with a movie it's from a few years back. See exactly what the release date was on this. I'm going to be recommending a movie called Lucky Number 11. That's got Morgan Freeman, Ben Kingsley, Josh Hartnett, Stanley Tucci, Bruce Willis. Interesting structured story with some great performances by some very talented actors, and of course Josh Hartnett. So that's definitely recommend.
All right,
good little action film. You can check it out on Netflix.
Cool. Thank you, Sam. Joe.
I guess I just want to really quickly preface that I don't want to come across, like I said, as the generational gap kid putting my nose up to these 2 movies. I said, they just weren't the 2 movies that I've seen. I mean, I grew up with a different crop of 80s science fiction movies, like your Flight of the Navigators, and
I forgot about
pretty
Flight
sure
of the
I cried at the end of Mac and Me. I recently rewatched that and I cried for entirely different reasons. But I'm gonna have to go with, I mentioned earlier, Alien, same year as Black Hole. I'm sure everyone and their mom has already seen it, but it's a fun to go back and rewatch it. And but the other picks are also Looper was amazing. Lucky Number 7 was really good. And, I've actually never seen Fisher King, so I'm gonna put that on my list.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I guess I'll give mine before I hand out who won. I mean, we all know who won. But so you ask yourself, what did Disney do in between 1979 and 1982? Well, they made my birthday present that I got from these guys this year. It's called Condor Man, all right? It came out in 1981. And speaking of film scores, you watch the movie, you have the song stuck in your head for like 3 days. It stars Michael Crawford, Oliver Reed, and Barbara Carrera. And also James Hampton is in there. He's in a ton of Disney stuff. But it's about a cartoonist, Woody, becomes a superhero he draws using his gadgets. He helps a Soviet spy defect to the West. And you couldn't find it anywhere. Like, I have the VHS copy here in my room because I couldn't find it on DVD, and these guys found it for me. So the tagline for the film is, he spies, he flies, he death defies. And I always say I have the holy trinity of Walt Disney films, and these are actually my 3 holy trinities of Disney live-action films. I absolutely love these because of the nostalgia factor and watching them when I was a kid. So you guys want to find out who won?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Tron!
Seriously?
Yeah.
I'm the only one that voted for Black Hole at all.
Yes. Yep.
I was using reverse psychology. I actually like Black Hole. Shit. That didn't work.
I think I was just more motivated by my hatred for Tron.
Is it bad that out of all the recommendations, I'm going to go watch FDR, American Badass?
No, that's pretty good as well. All right, Tom, you want to let everyone know who won?
Yes, last month's contest for
Yes.
Elf on
Yes, that's
Blu-ray
what I
went
meant.
to Ms. Carolyn Bell in Madison, Wisconsin. Congratulations, Carolyn.
Woohoo!
We had entries from as far away as Iceland. So
I know, that's crazy.
isn't that awesome?
Yes,
Awesome.
that was
Isn't that
totally awesome.
So, yeah,
Blowing
so
up Iceland.
yeah. So we're going to be giving away a copy of Tron on Blu-ray this month. So when the podcast goes up, we'll have the little 9 close-up shots of the movie posters. So you put in your guesses, email it to cinesmack@gmail.com, and you get entered. You don't have to get them all right. Just by putting in 9 guesses, you're going to be entered. You can also share the picture on Facebook. That will also get you another entry. So be sure to do that, and you can win a copy of Tron on Blu-ray, which everybody wants, right?
That's right. I'd love to have that. Actually,
you cannot enter, Mr. Keeler. I apologize.
Damn.
No, sorry. Friends and family cannot enter.
All right.
Well, friends can. Of course, friends can. So.
They're the only ones who listen, friends and family.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Just real quick, we got with one of the guesses for the holiday film. We actually had a little bit of listener feedback here. It's from Dennis McCullough, who we've had on the show. He says, "Hello, Cinesmack. I just have to say that I do enjoy listening to your podcast. It does help that I was on the show. Anyways, I just thought I would drop a suggestion for you for a bout before getting to the posters. I don't think the suggestion is much of a bout. They are none the less similar. I suggest doing a bout between Real Steel and Over the Top." Which I haven't seen Over the Top in years either, and I'm afraid
that movie.
It's got that Kenny Loggins song in it. Yeah.
Well, what 80s movie doesn't have a Kenny Loggins song in it?
I loved it. It was arm wrestling, and there's this
It is.
I'd watch it again.
We also received, besides many emails for the contest, we received some really nice tweets from Patrick Boberg, and I believe it's Filmcast Without a Cause. I think I'm right on that. Right. They tweeted us quite a few nice things, suggesting people to listen to us and saying that they enjoy our podcast quite a lot. So thank you, Patrick, and the guys over at Filmcast. Thanks again, Joe, for joining us. And I almost totally forgot. Where can people find you guys on the web? Go, Tom.
Facebook, Twitter, and Vimeo. Check me out on Vimeo. Tom Haggis. Look it up.
All right.
It's where all the cool kids hang out.
Find me on Facebook, yo.
Gabe. Gabe.
I'm a Sam. Look me up on Facebook.
All right. And Joe, is there anything you would like to promote? Nudge.
Yeah, we got a movie screening next Friday, the 19th of January. It's a Saturday. We're showing our movie, The Formula, in Iowa City, Iowa, at the Englert Theater right downtown. So tickets are free. You can find us on Facebook, online, Google. I mean, you can find anything on Google. So
right. I know 2 people, at least on this recording, that are in it. So
yes.
But yeah, I can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. This was really fun, guys. I mean, we always have fun doing these, but I was really looking forward to this. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. You can contact us at, as Tom said, cinesmack@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. And for our February bout, we throw caution to the wind and say screw Valentine's Day when Thumbsucker takes on Chum Scrubber. This is going to be interesting. For Gabe, Sam, Tom, Joe, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Yay.
End of line.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.